Education in the colonial times was scarce and started off only offering schooling to young men. In this time, the teachings of education were very closely related to the teachings of the church. While reading Rory, we see that the Bible and other religious material was the main subject in the classroom setting. It is also said that going to school wasn't necessarily important and used for the religious learning in this time and area, not for training and preparation of the workplace. What I've learned throughout my education is that while the United States is colonizing, that schools were not a super big deal. I learned that their learning was more tailored to home life and usually constructed around the parents. The children would be building things out in the field or working at a mom and pop shop rather than sitting down and learning about math, science, and art. Furthermore, at a younger age, and Rory reiterates, is that the families with more money were able to get their children better education with nannies and tutors to help to teach them the necessary skills like reading and writing. I think that the way that colonial America was set up schools and printed education by showing things like religion are very important. In colonial America, the main focus was religious scripture and teaching that to the children. However, today, teachers and those of authority are not even allowed to pray in schools or speak any religious words. In my hometown, this became a huge problem for many faculty and staff. Coming from a small southern place, Pace, Florida, praying before football, cheerleading, basketball, and volleyball was very normal to us. We would pray with our coaches and our teammates and for the safety of all of those involved. After it was said that authorities were no longer allowed to pray in schools, it became a big deal to the coaches and people in charge because it felt like breaking tradition and our beliefs. Specifically, this impacted the principal at the time, Frank Lay, a tremendous amount. Frank Lay was allowing prayer to be held before school events like pep rallies and games because he believed that it was necessary. This caused a huge riot within the school because students said that religion and prayer was being forced upon them. Because of this little uprising, Pace High got a new principal, and Frank Lay started up a private elementary school because he believed religion should be incorporated into the educational system. Like colonial times, Frank Lay has incorporated prayer into those children's everyday life. They pray at the beginning of their day and before all of their meals. I think that Mr. Lay had continued the pattern of how the educational system had worked many years before. Comparing how important the Bible is and how it teaches us implicitly to be better, and how schools have that implicit curriculum that teach students manners and proper etiquette are very similar. Today, the curriculum might teach us more about how to be a well-rounded student and have information from every field, but the underlying lessons still tell not to hit, not to cheat, and lie. I think that these lessons might feel like they're just common sense and we're being good people, but if we look back in the past, these lessons are from the Bible that were being taught then. Furthermore, we learned that the children being a help to the family, but still being able to take care of their own, was very important in the colonial time, and personally, I believe that those teachings have become a part of the educational system today. Rory discusses how families did not want their children to become dependent, and today, students and children have been put in this pattern of leaving the house after graduation to go to work, school, or join the military. In my personal experience, my brother and I both felt like we had to leave home to show our parents that we were not dependent on them and knew how to take care of ourselves outside of their home. It was kind of an unspoken message that we both needed to have jobs before high school graduation and be able to pay for our bills by ourselves. This pattern had been passed down so many generations that that's just how we grew up instinctively. To answer the question about voices that were being heard and the bodies that were being taught, Spring discusses how everything was deculturalized to make superior race exactly that, superior. People were punished or thought to be stupid because they believed in a different religion or did not have an interest in learning the other educational style. The disagreements over what should be taught and how people should act caused fights for land, power, and control, and ended with many beatings, bombings, and preventable deaths. Unfortunately, people being punished are thought to be stupid and being punished for what's happening up until very recently with the deaf community. Even though the penalties aren't as severe, these people still got screamed at, had to go through countless hours of speech therapy, and were ridiculed. The deaf community is something that's very close to my heart, and I learned about this while I was trying to become fluent in sign language. Not too many years ago, people believed that the individuals that are deaf would not and should not be allowed to do basic things like working and driving. Back then in education, it was mainly the privileged majorities that were taught, while everyone else got the back burner. Even though it's not as extreme, minorities and people with disabilities are still treated this way today. How many interpreters or teachers that can sign have you met? It's my goal to make all environments inclusive and let everyone feel like they have the same opportunities to learn. In conclusion, I feel like who's being taught, what material is being taught, and who's teaching the material is all part of the imprinted colonial curriculum that still plays in how we teach today. I hope that education continues to expand until everything is completely accessible to everyone, but I also want people to be able to preach their religious beliefs if they want, and I guess that has been imprinted on me. Thank you.